Welcome back to another edition of Recruiting Thursday here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Jack Ridenour here with you, and today we're joined by Hempfield senior wrestler and recent Lock Haven wrestling commit, Lucas Kapusta. Lucas, great to have you join us today. First off, congrats on the huge commitment. How does it feel to make this decision?
I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. I appreciate it. The commitment it's great now that it's over with, but the past pretty much 2 years now I thought it was going to be fun, but it was stressful. It's pretty stressful.
Well, I want to dive right into that kind of recruiting process and what that all kind of was like for you. What was those last 2 years? Like you said, it was very difficult and challenging. And how was it kind of dealing with COVID also while you're in the midst of, your high school career and also recruitment?
Yeah, so COVID, that took a big hit on my recruiting because my sophomore year, they only took 3 to the state tournament. Or actually, it was to like that super region tournament. And I ended up taking 4th, and usually top 4 go to states. So that stopped me from being a state qualifier that year and possibly getting another state medal. So I think that, I don't want to say took me like a step down, but I couldn't have that accolade of being a state qualifier or medalist that year. So that my recruiting process started out, with probably 5 to 10 schools that were pretty consistent, and Lock Haven being one of them. That they were like the first people to reach out to me, and they stuck with me the whole way. So I appreciated that.
Well, what was it about wanting to maybe wait until the end of your senior year that kind of allowed you to really take this process for, a little bit of time and be a little bit patient with it? Why did you want to ultimately wait to the end of your senior year?
Honestly, I didn't want to wait. My plan was to commit over the summer last year. Thought I was ready. I took, I think, 3 of my visits, felt ready. And then one day I just talked to Vince DeAugustine, and he could tell I wasn't fully ready, even though I said I was. So he kind of talked me into, wrestling this year, trying to show what I was really made of. And I just trusted him the whole way. And now this is where I'm at.
Now, do you think that committing later in your senior year kind of shows others that you don't have to, jump ahead and really, commit and make that decision early on?
Yeah, I think it shows that a lot of these kids that are just able to talk to college coaches, their first coach they talk to or first visit, they're jumping right into verbally committing. And then maybe towards their, like end of junior year, senior year, they're not 100% sure if that's the school they really wanted. It was just, the first school that reached out to them. And I almost did the same thing. It's hard to turn down that first phone call, but you just have to, trust the process, and good things will happen.
Well, what was it about Lock Haven that ultimately wanted and led you to that decision? I mean, why did you decide on Lock Haven?
So I went up in the summer and had it was an unofficial visit. It was awesome. I loved everything about it. And I was super close with Nate Carr. He was the assistant coach at the time. And we just had a really good connection. And then he ended up leaving like 2 weeks later. And it kind of messed with my mind. And I kind of took Lock Haven off my list for a little bit. And then they ended up reaching out again. And I did my official visit, and I fell in love with it again. I knew I loved it the first time. Then as soon as I went back, I just knew it was the place for me.
Why did you want to make that second go around? I mean, you said that you weren't really loving Lock Haven at one point. So what was it that kind of encouraged you and influenced you to come back the second time?
Well, I think that first time I took it off the list because the one coach left, and I thought I couldn't build another strong relationship like that with the other coaches. But the school part, I love the campus. I like where it's at. It's not too far away, but it's far enough away so my parents aren't always coming up to, get on me. So, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely want to be able to not have mom and dad too far away, but be able to be a little bit independent, but still be able to, if you want to go visit on the weekends, that's always a great thing. But if you could go back in time at the beginning of this process, what is some advice that you wish that you had that you figured out and learned later on?
Um, Honestly, I think just taking all of your visits. I took four of mine. I was supposed to do my fifth, but I ended up not doing it. So I think taking all your visits and not just jumping to the first school just because they reached out to you and gave you a good offer, because these other schools have money for you too. You just have to take your time and build a relationship with those coaches, and then they'll give you that offer.
What were some other schools that you were looking at and that you had gone and visited?
So my first visit was North Dakota State, which my dad went to. So that was a really good visit. And then I went to Edinburgh, Lock Haven, and then I was supposed to go to WVU the week after. Actually, it would have been this week or last weekend. So those were the four main schools I was talking to. And North Dakota State, I really liked it, but the distance was something I don't think I could have did. Me and my family are super close, so I just think that was far. And then Edinburgh and Lock Haven are pretty similar. I just feel like I had a better connection at Lock Haven than Edinburgh.
Yeah, North Dakota would be definitely a very long ways away. Could not make the weekend trip. You definitely have to get on a flight. And if you made a weekend trip, that would be incredible if you could do that. But that would be definitely very hard. Now, when you arrive at Lock Haven, do you know what weight class that you'll be competing in?
Um, I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine 149 or 157. I think I'm going to start out at 149, and then potentially I think I can grow into my body a little bit. So maybe 157 like later in college, but we'll see.
Well, I know that there's another, similarity that you'll be getting back in getting used to again, if you will, and having an old teammate of yours, Ty Linsenbigler, now being your teammate again since he's at Lock Haven. Are you looking forward to being his teammate again? And also, just what's your relationship like with him now? And what was it like when you guys were teammates in high school?
Yeah, being teammates with him in high school, he was just always like the jokester in the room, like before practice, after practice. But when it's time to work, we put the work in, and he was just a fun person to be around. And I can't wait to be teammates with him again at Lock Haven next year. He was my host on my visit, and he's just a really likable guy. It was a lot of fun.
So how much of a role did he play in your decision, and what kind of advice did he give you during this whole recruiting process and really decision-making process?
He was a big role in my decision to Lock Haven. He was just telling me all these good and bad things, because obviously no school is like perfect. So he's telling me good and bad things about it, but a lot of it was good, and I was taking all of that in, and just hearing it from someone that went to the same high school as me and is now doing really good in college. It just made me feel a lot better.
Well, I'm sure on top of the advice that Ty's given you, you've also gotten great advice from from Vince DiAugustine, someone that you've wrestled under, a former Hempfield state champion in his own right. What was it like having him as a coach, and also having him as a coach in your corner and really being in the room with him on a daily basis?
Yeah, Vince has been probably the biggest role model I've looked up to in a long time. He all past 3 years, 1 year I had a different head coach, but the past 3 years with him have been awesome, and I wouldn't change anything for it. He would come into the room early with me because I do a half day at school, work the other half of the day. So he would come in before practice. We would get like 30, 45 minutes in, or if he couldn't do that, we would stay after. He was always sending me like treadmill workouts, just trying to push me to my absolute best. And he's a great guy. I love him.
Well, I know somebody else that, and you had previously mentioned someone that I'm sure also played a big impact in your career. Your dad, as he was a very good wrestler at North Dakota State, a 3-time Division II champion. What kind of impact has he had on your career, and just also what's some advice that maybe he's given you, knowing that you're going to be competing at the Division I level and competing at the collegiate level?
Yeah, my dad has been, he's been even bigger than Vince. He's been with me. I started wrestling when I was 4 years old, just, messing around in the room. And he was always there for me, pushing me, driving me to practices an hour, 2 hours away, taking me to camps, taking off work to, try and get me better. So he's been a huge person I've looked up to. And his what he says about college is just all the wrestling is the same. You just gotta, get stronger. I think being strong in college is going to be a big difference, because some of these guys are going to be 21, 22 years old while I'm 18. So they're going to have a different kind of strength. But yeah, he's just been telling me about that, and he's just excited for me.
Well, with all the great influences in wrestling you've had in your life, I'm sure that you might have maybe a dream match or somebody that you would love to go 1v1 with. Who is that one person that if you could wrestle them, that you would totally wrestle in a heartbeat?
I think rolling around with like someone like Jordan Burroughs, like one of those big guys, would just be a lot of fun, because even though you're going to get your butt whooped, you're going to learn so much from it, because he's the GOAT of the sport.
Now, as you get ready to compete at the Division I level, I know you mentioned the strength aspect, but what are some other things that you're looking forward to working on and improving upon to carry over success from high school into college?
I would say finishing shots quicker instead of just shooting to the leg, shoot through it and try and get that takedown. Riding is a big factor, because you can obviously earn a point from that. So just getting a tough ride, you can look for turns, but if you can get that minute of riding time, that would be huge. And then getting off the bottom, you obviously don't want to give up a point from getting rode out. So I think those three, there's so much to work on moving forward, but I think the guys at Lock Haven can definitely help me with that.
Well, I know that you're probably very excited to get up there and get to work, but Lucas, it's been wonderful to have you join us today on Recruiting Thursday. Before we let you go, would love to hear, and it doesn't have to be wrestling related, but I would love to hear just what are you most looking forward to, most excited for as you head off to college?
I think being on my own, I feel like my parents they've helped me a lot from the time I was a baby to now. And they've always been behind my back, but kind of transitioning from, I don't want to say a kid, but a kid to being an adult on my own, like doing my own laundry, getting food for myself, doing all that simple stuff. I think that's something I'm looking forward to most.
I will tell you one thing: you will always look you'll always look back and appreciate mom or dad doing your laundry, because doing your laundry now, as you move out of the house, it's not a fun time. I do not enjoy it. Personal experience. Don't like folding. That's just me, but maybe you'll like it. But I think it's something that you will quickly remember and wish that you had with you at Lock Haven. But Lucas, it's been great to have you today on WSN. We wish you nothing but luck moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Lock Haven Wrestling commit Lucas Kapusta. Thanks so much, as always, for joining us for another wonderful edition of Recruiting Thursday right here and only on the Westmoreland Sports Network.